All right. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here on this Friday night. You could be anywhere, doing anything, but you chose to be with us right here, right now. So thank you. Want to say what's up? I'm here with my man Staxx. What's going on?
First of all, that was the greatest montage of you that I've ever seen in my life. That was pure greatness, and I'm glad you did it. T, always good to be here. Great show today, man, and we got something for the people, man. Glad to be here, boss.
All right. So first and foremost, let's get the so-called house cleaning out the way. I appreciate everybody coming through, supporting the show. We are at around 400 subscribers. If you could help us up that, we're trying to get to 500. We're trying to get to 1,000 at least by the beginning of the football season, if you could, to help out, whatever. If you also want to support the show, we have the Cash App. We have the stream elements, the Patreon. If you want to join that, we got some special features going on. We have 3 tiers. If you want to sign up, support the show, and help out, it would be greatly appreciated. So let's not delay this any longer and let's get into the show. So, first and
Hey,
foremost, we're going to talk about the last thing that we talked about, and that was your man going to the Saints.
why you had to be my man?
You wanted him. When I texted you, you was like, damn, we ain't get
Well,
him.
well. I will say that I've always said that I was not opposed to signing a veteran wide receiver on the team. I said that I've been consistent. So Jarvis Landry to me made some sense, but him wanting to go play down in New Orleans with Tyron Matthew, his old college buddy, it makes some sense. I'm still trying to figure out how the Saints backflip and front flip and pull extra cap space out of the lid of their pocket to make it happen, but all in all, I get it. He didn't want to be here. Like you said, he didn't want to be here just to block and run slant routes all day. So it is what it is. I'm all good with the anonymity of our offense and where we are now. He was the only one that really made sense. So let's go with it.
So you said that you don't know how they pulled the money out the lint of their pockets.
I mean,
Well, being that you are a football guy, you know that every team employs a capologist.
yes,
So
they had one.
just like they have one and we have one, they know how to use it because they've been doing it for the last 10 plus years and they
That's
keep
very
making
true.
room. My only issue is everybody said, hey, let's let these young guys cook. Let's see what the young guys can do. But now everybody's all up in arms because we didn't get them. Like you
Right,
can't have it both ways. You can't say let the young guys do what they're gonna do and then be mad when we don't bring in uh over the hill wide receiver.
right, right. I think that per part of it is also the way that Hollywood Brown was traded during the draft, and we didn't fulfill the need, so to speak, in the draft directly to wide receiver. We got another first round pick for him, which I've been on record saying it was a steal to get a 23rd pick for Hollywood Brown. But I think, that's just an easy pain point for people to try to point out a deficiency. But ultimately, I think that the team is going to be in a decent spot from an offensive perspective. I think we just need to be patient, and now we don't have a choice. So it is what it is.
All right. So we have a new subscriber, cast of all trades, arts and passions. I thank you for subscribing. Anybody else? Listen, if you're new here, subscribe, like, hit that share button, anything you can do to support us. But thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
So
I'm good, man. I see my man LBHT and that lunch break hot take crew. What happens
what's
when we
going on?
find out our young guys can't cook? Well, I guess we're gonna find out because I mean they gonna have the chef get the pots and the spoons and all of that too because I bet apparently this is what we gonna have. So let's see. Hard to speculate now. I think that we see. I'm hoping that we see something different on offense. Do I think that we have the mental fortitude to do so on the offensive side? No, but ultimately we had to see. T, what you think?
Oh, we're gonna struggle. We're gonna struggle. Listen, we have like we have like 17 slot wide receivers, one outside guy, and a whole trothel of tight ends. And once it doesn't happen the way that it's supposed to, we might miss the playoffs. Like, don't quote me on it, but it can happen. What's going on,
As
Jalen?
that there is one guy in camp,
Don't do it.
Devon Williams from University of Oregon. Not that much production, 33
Yep.
catches. The point that I'm trying to say is that the kid has the type of height and speed that if he were to get through camp, and this is a stone's throw because he's an unrestricted free agent, and we know how Harbaugh does with unrestricted free agents. But if he does get into camp and he does show some signs, there is a guy presently on the team that could fulfill that need at X receiver if need be. And I'm excited about him. Go Oregon, but we'll see.
What's up, shit? Okay, so you about to get a technical early. I'm just letting you know right now. You about to
I
hit
could
that
say
first tee
that.
early
That's
because
I'm not going to get a tech because I'm excited about a guy because we didn't bring anybody else in. You have no choice but to be Tony. It is what it is. You got to
I,
bring somebody in.
you do. But listen, you are a numbers guy. You do a lot of your homework. So what do we get? Like six undrafted free agent wide
Yes,
receivers,
six
and out of
undrafted free agent wide receivers.
so out of those six, one of them had 1,000 yards. Three of them had more than 500, and the rest were under 500. Correct?
Yes.
So they're gonna go off the scrap heap and just come in here and dominate as a,
Well, I
as a
think
rookie.
Well, if you want to go deeper down into what Williams did, he went to USC, fell behind some really, really strong talent there, and ended up transferring to Oregon, who didn't have really the quarterback there to try to move the ball around, kind of run first team. Not
So that
necessarily
might
run first team. Oregon definitely spread the ball out, but team they had a quarterback that was more like of a hybrid. But if you run on some tape, man, he made some plays. Some apparent issues at the USC that had him at the depth chart, but ultimately he was behind Drake London and Amon Ross St. Brown and some other guys who are in the league nowadays. So like I said, just one guy that I was a little excited about based off of height and some of the measurables. So I see he says he runs a 5.0. That is not true, sir, but we will see.
so my only issue is I think even though two of them transferred, three out of those six played in the Pac-12.
Right.
Pac-12 has no defense,
No,
and
you don't.
you still can't give me 500 yards.
I depend on the Pac-12. Some of those teams too, Tony. I mean, outside of the talent has to be there too from the quarterback perspective in order to get these guys the football. If you look at the top wideouts across college football last year, some of their quarterbacks in the conversation of being plausibly NFL starting guys. I mean, so you got to be consistent when you say that. That doesn't necessarily mean because he doesn't have production that he doesn't have talent. But there is a reason that he dropped in the draft. And again, based off of need and needing the number two receiver with some type of size, which I think would be optimal for us in the offense. I think that he, with his frame and some of his measurables, makes some sense.
So I'm gonna tell you, like I've been told, like I keep getting told. My man Jose at lunch break hot takes. Make sure y'all go over there and subscribe. He told me size is not a skill.
It's not. It's
Size is
not a
not a skill.
skill. But the guys who are tall in the league, let's. I mean, we can go through it real quick, but look at your top five wide receivers from last year. Everybody's over 6 feet tall, so you can take it what you want. He ain't got
My
to be 6'9", but he's gonna have to have some type of height to him. There are some shorter guys that are in the league that have a skill set that the team schemed them open, but ultimately, and as I stated before, this is predicated off of the fact that we're not paying this guy. If he makes it on the field, he's going to have to block. He's not going to be a 50 catch, 70 target type of guy. I'm talking about his frame, his skill set. We just need a guy bigger than 5'8" to be on the field, along with what we have in certain situations. And I feel as though that he fits the mold, not necessarily being the guy, but also Polk is my number two out of the Ghost guys, so that's a really good call. But we'll see.
Tyreek Hill, Antonio Brown when his head's on straight, Jalen
Yeah,
Waddle. I
absolutely.
mean,
Absolutely. There's some
it's a
guys. I won't dispute that. There are some guys. But another thing is, and I hate to say this because, speed kills also too. So as stated before, what's Tyreek Hill's best attribute? Do I think that his speed is his only attribute? Far from it. He can run the whole route tree, take the top off the defense. He is a full-breaded receiver. We will see what Miami does with him from an offensive perspective. No, I don't think that KC will falter much from a pass game perspective, but you will see some changes. Andy Reid is a genius. He'll figure out a way to get the ball down the field. But if we're just talking about purely off of skill set and fit, a guy of that frame, Mr. Williams, makes some sense in our offense. Landry was legitimately shorter than him. But again, we're taking what we have, and again, I spoke to you about the anonymity about our offensive weapons and what we're going to put on the field. And outside of just bringing in a veteran receiver for somebody in the room, it made some sense. But if we're not going to do it, then let's roll, man. Let's just get to the league. Let's see what's up.
Okay, because I heard Peter Warwick was still available.
Oh,
All
you
right,
would bring up a
so
Florida State guy, though.
I got you. All right, so let's jump into it and get into this schedule that just came out. So, what were your initial thoughts when you first saw the schedule?
Well, after scanning through the first game, I believe that we are the fifth team in the AFC East. I mean, we are on the East Coast, so I guess they're going to change the divisions now. But having four straight games out of the AFC East, just it boggles the mind how we pulled a lot like this. But ultimately, there are some winnable games within the first eight. I see how the NFL is definitely living to the credo of making sure that those end games, if everybody else's schedule looks this way, having four divisional games in the last six, so they can still have that value to the customer, people coming out and sitting down and have a meaningful game on the docket for them. So I mean, it makes some sense, but to play four teams directly out of one division is just have mercy. That's pretty hard, but we'll see how it works out.
I mean, the Pats did it every year, so you
That's
know,
true too.
with this Super Friends defense that we have, it should be no problem for us. Like, listen, we got the Justice
Super
League up in here.
friends.
We got the Justice League in the defensive backfield, son. We stop it. And listen, if we aren't
Oh,
number one
good
in pass
man.
defense this year, it's a problem. It's going
They,
to be
they,
a
there's no excuse, Tony. We've definitely put, when you look at it, what we have on paper, it makes some sense, right? We drafted safety for some people say for no reason. We signed a safety in free agent. See, we have a safety on par on Tuck right now that doesn't know where he's going to be on the field. Two corners coming back from injury. I agree. We should be pretty more than decent on from a secondary perspective. That's the strength of the team. So let's see what happens. I mean, looking at some of these opponents, man, we're going to need it. Right off the bat, Miami, Buffalo, Cincinnati in the first six. So makes some sense, man. Hey, maybe they saw something we didn't. But we will see. We will see.
Oh yeah, we will see quite early. Quite early. All right, let's see who's in here. What's going on? How you feeling?
What's up, babe? What's up? What's up?
Okay. We're not afraid of Zach Wilson and Mac Jones.
No,
Yeah,
not at all. Apparently, Mr. Zach Wilson dunked the basketball today and had Twitter in a roar. So maybe he's an athletic guy now. Makes some sense. I don't know, but that apparently was impressive to some people. I guess if the Jets can't play football well, the next best thing is to let them lay up a basketball once or twice. But it is
well,
what it is.
but you already know what that's about, though.
Right.
You know what that's about. All right, so let's jump into this schedule here and go game by game with your picks and any analysis that you may have. Okay.
All right. So we won Jets. Right behind us as far as what I believe to be one of the better drafts. And again, if you have three first round picks, it's hard to miss. But we've seen teams do it before. But on the surface, it looks like the Jets got it right. They have some weapons in Garrett Wilson now, rookie. Elijah Moore out of the slot. Really, really quick guy. Brees Hall that they drafted in the second round, running back, possibly the best running back on the board. They had Michael Carter that they drafted last year, Denzel Mims from USC that they drafted also. Zach Wilson made some moves on the offensive line, not as much as I would have liked them to, but they definitely made some moves, picking up Jermaine Johnson on the defense and Sauce Gardner. So definitely don't know what to expect from an offensive and defensive perspective from that team, but they're well coached on the defensive side. And ultimately, looking at the apparent 4 point spread our way, maybe Vegas feels the same way. That game's a lot closer than I expected, and the line is already out on it. So let's see if it moves from here to then.
All right. So we got another subscriber. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Now for me, you didn't say whether you thought they were going to win or
Oh,
not.
we beat the Jets. We
We
beat the
beat
Jets.
them?
We
Okay.
beat the Jets.
I like your enthusiasm. I'm not too confident. I'm not really. Listen, the Jets are doing something. The Jets are doing something.
What are
We
they
may not,
doing, Tony?
bro. We
What are
may
they
not.
doing?
They're building a team.
Okay,
You just sat here for 5 minutes and named all the additions. You named
I can
all
do
the
that
additions.
about everybody here. I can do that
Right,
about everybody here.
right.
That'll be
And but you have to also take into account with us preseason. We're not playing our starters at all for injury reasons. So that Jets game is going to be the game where they gain continuity. And sometimes with Harbaugh, we don't start out well. But I give him the dub. I want to know. I give him because it's the Jets, and I don't believe in Zach Wilson because I had him on fantasy last year and he was the complete dud.
hopefully you picked them in like the 97th
Mm.
round and it didn't mean anything. But
Nah,
uh,
I traded for him, bro. I had to trade for him because I only had one quarterback, and it was a two
uh,
quarterback. Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Anywho,
uh, again, it'd be a tough sell. Tough sell. That crowd is going to be amped up at East Rutherford that first week at MetLife Stadium. They're going to be pretty jacked up about what they did in the draft, so they're going to be ready to go. They're ready
yep.
to go.
All right, Ravens Slice thinks that the Ravens are sweeping the whole AFC East. I disagree, fam.
I
I
disagree. Also, I think
I
it's going to be
disagree
tough for us. I think it's
because
going to be tough for us.
going into week 2, we got the Dolphins. Now, if you'd have told everybody last year that the Dolphins were going to hammer us down, you'd have thought I was crazy. And we still got the same coach. They pretty much have the same defense, but a better offense. So for me, I'm counting that one as a loss. I'm counting the Dolphins game as a loss. We're going to be 1-1.
I am a little bit more, but that's not the game that I had us losing out of the first four.
Of course
Um,
not.
no, not the. I think the Dolphins, they definitely have some weapons. I think offensively, we all know
Except they won't.
what's going to happen. I think that they need to get their run game tightened up a little bit more, and they definitely put some stuff to that. Raheem Mostert is showing some signs of injury prone, former Raven. Edwards from Chase Edmonds from Arizona, pass catch out the backfield. They have upgraded the running back room immensely, upgraded the offensive line, picking up Armstead from the Saints. I think that it's predicated on what Tua does. From a defensive perspective, they were really, really well coached last year. As you can tell, if you've watched our streams between me and Tony, I've bullet pointed that game as one of the struggles of our offensive line and the disrespect. On defense, they still have Xavier Howard and Jones from formerly of the Dallas Cowboys. They have some decent interior linemen that they drafted well. But I think that we get out there and they come into Baltimore, and I think that we can get on top of them. I think that they won't be, I'm not going to take away from what Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have, but if the strength of our defense is going to be the secondary, I feel like that we'll be all over this game and we'll get them, and that they won't be able to keep up with the firepower. I think we get them out of there. This is one of the games I had as winning
Oh, okay. I mean, hey, your
team.
opinion is your opinion. So on, on to week 3. What you think about at the Patriots?
Tough game, tough environment. But I'm gonna go with history. This is not one thing that I usually do, but there's only one team really suited to go into New England and win a football game, and it resides here at the bank. And I just think that we put pressure on Mac Jones. They do have two pretty decent running backs out there in Harris. With Harris, they had two great tight ends in Hunter Henry and Johnny Smith. They just drafted Mr. Underwood, I believe that's his last name. They played for Baylor. They ran the fastest 4.2 times. So they're making some strides on the offense. Kendrick Bourne is shown to be a little bit on the outside. That offense is pretty well suited to do some ball control. And defensively, they got probably one of the best defensive minds in football ever in Bill Belichick. And he'll have his scheme ready, and they'll be ready for us. But I think ultimately we can go up there and we can win that game against a young team and go into the next week where I think we might fall into a little bit of trepidation.
So you are going to bet against Tom Brady Jr.
No, I'm definitely Mac Jones is not Tom Brady Jr. The
That's
offense is the
listen.
same, but he's
That's what
not
they.
Tom Brady Jr.
That's what they're saying. They're saying he's the next
No,
coming. Well, I don't believe
no,
that bull crap neither. So I got the I
no.
got the Ravens winning and moving on to 2-1. Now that brings us to the home game against the Bills. I'm a little upset about this one because when they leaked the schedule, they had it as this was going to be a home Thanksgiving game, Thanksgiving
Right.
Day game, and I was just like, look, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm gonna be at that game just to find out we only have 3 primetime games so far.
Which is a
And
joke, but we'll get
is it
into
really?
that later. I
Is it
believe
really?
so. I
Man,
mean,
what?
if Philly was a playoff team, so that justifies them getting 2 more. I mean, they're talking about the slowest paced team in football last year that ran the ball more than everybody. They're not even must see TV, and they got 5 more games, 2 more games. I just don't see it, even from a sellable point. If you're selling the actual sport being a passing league, just get these team ran the ball more than anybody in football. Slowest paced team. You're not even watching the track meet. You give them 2 more primetime games than us. Lamar's must see TV, man. It's
Who
a
did
joke.
who did they add? Who did they add in the offseason?
One person, AJ Brown, but
It
you still
doesn't
got to
matter.
get the ball to him.
Who did they draft the year before? It doesn't matter.
Okay.
They're making attempts, and that's what the NFL is looking at. They're making attempts. Listen. I love my team. I love watching my team, but I, for God, sure don't want to see James Prochet on Monday night. I don't want to see Tylen Wallace running up the field on Thanksgiving. It's just not exciting. We said we're going to run the ball and throw the tight ends. They don't want that for TV. And that's exactly why we didn't get as many primetime games. Now, there are 2 games later in the season that maybe flex, possibly.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll see. But listen, I know, I think you said they were going 4-0. I had them losing. The Bills are going to beat them, even with this all world secondary, and they're going to be 2-2.
I think that the Bills do take this game. I would love to be proven wrong. I just think that from an offensive perspective, depending on where we are, we've had conversations about them being explosive offense, and they'll be a true test coming in. We'll be amped up for the game. I feel like, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are going to play. I think the game is close. I'm thinking maybe we get a 3 point spread our way just because we're home. But ultimately, it would not surprise me if the Bills took this game. So I'm just going to roll with that and hope for the best and think that, it'd be good for conversation and say that we lose this one to bounce back the next week.
So you think we're going to bounce back the next week?
I think we bounce back the next week. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we run into a buzzsaw, we lose a close one, we get on our stuff, we get on our horse, we get back to practice, we start getting fixed in the small things, and then we come into our first division game against a team that we really, really want, that we really, really got some real gumption to play and wake up and beat the hell out of the Bengals. And I think we wash them out. I do. I think we wash them out.
All right. So Boogie says, we're sweeping the East. Also, we're going to beat the Bills. Lamar has too much pride to lose twice to Josh Allen. Now, that may be true, but you have to also consider the rest of the team around him.
Hmm.
They're not building around him properly. And I think that is the downfall. As a team, I think we should beat most everybody on the schedule. But the way that they're constructing it, they're not giving us enough. They're not giving Lamar enough. Now, granted, I can't take it away anything from them protecting him. They went out and they attempted, and they've done a rather good job of giving him protection. Now, giving him weapons, that's something different. For some reason, it's an either or with us. We can never do both at the same time. It's either you get protection and no receivers, or you get receivers and no protection. But yeah, I think the Bills are going to take this. And then going into the Bengals, after seeing what they did to us last year, and their 2 biggest needs, one being the offensive line. First wave of free agency, they knocked that out the park. Like they went and got a center, a tackle. They signed Lyle Collins from the Cowboys, a person that we should have just traded for. And we don't have a pass rush right now. So how are we going to get to him? How are we going to stop him? Now, we can have the best secondary in the world, but if we can't rush the passer, it's not going to make a difference because you can't cover forever. So to me, this is going to be another loss, and we're going to be under 500 in week 5.
I I disagree. I think that I think that the Bengals are going to come into some trepidation this year. I think that we get to a point where we figure them out. Just from an offensive perspective, a lot of the plays that they made were broken plays. People weren't ready for them. The one thing that they had going for them last year is that they were really healthy throughout the season and they peaked at the right time. But they had some situations where they could have been beaten. And I think that this is a really what they did well was manage game times well. Really good coach team. And I
Mhm.
think that depending on what we have on the defensive side, like I said, maybe losing to the Bills in week 4, calling it an L. But I think that we bounce back and we take them. I think that there's no way that we allow them to come home at the bank after what they did to us 900 yards last year in 2 games, and we lose a third one. I just think that we will be mentally and physically ready for that game, and I think that we go leave it 1-0 in our division from that game for sure.
But you left out a sector of the game, coaching. Your
I,
coach, your coach rarely ever has us prepared for games. So
I don't think he'll have a choice but to be. I think that the Bills, that losing to the Bills is going to have to put us in a point where, and depending on another thing, I'm not expecting Greg Roman to be here after week 4 too, because I feel like that we might have to shoot out with Buffalo and we might not be able to do it. And I think that we might struggle. I'm hoping for the best. We get him out of there. We get a new offensive coordinator in come week 5 and you stamp it. If it happens, then, let me know. But I think that we beat the Bengals this first go round, man. I think we take them. This is one that's on my heart. I just really find it hard to believe that we allowed them to come into the bank again after putting up almost 1,000 yards of offense on us, and we don't remember that, and we show up and do a little something to them when they get here. So I'm excited about week 5. I will be there for sure.
well,
I will
listen,
be there.
we can remember all we want. We haven't been that good in the last 10 years of payback. The choir boys that we have, they don't believe in retaliation. They just believe in, oh, next play. Let me go on Twitter, talk some good vibes up. They're a bunch of hippies, but whatever. So I know this is a game that my man Ferris is going to be looking forward to, even though I hate to say it, Ferris, we about to mollywop them Giants. Like it's not even going to be close. Danny Pennies, he ain't got nothing for him. Like I listen, you have name recognition in your wide receiver room, but for some reason I had the Giants wide receivers on par with the Ravens. They just name only. So y'all go ahead with that.
Uh, Kenny Galladay, Justin Ross. I don't think he's on the roster anymore, but you still got Sterling Shepard, depending on if he's going to play 5 or 6 games this year. Kadavius Tony. They got some talent. We talk about Saquon Barkley.
Who?
Depending on what Brian Dable is going to do from an offensive perspective, is all
Who?
what it is. But ultimately, what we're really going to talk about is the quarterback play here. I think, which is what is going to be in
The
question. And
who was the last?
and
Who was the
Dan
last receiver? Who was the last receiver you said?
Saquon
No,
Barkley, that running
no,
back.
the wide receiver that you said.
Oh, Tony. I think Tony's like solid. You can say what you want to say
Who was
about him,
that?
but I think he's going to be. I think Kadavius Tony from Florida, the guy
I
that you're
don't.
trying to discount, I think
I
he's
don't
going to be really
know.
good.
I don't know him.
You don't have to, but we'll watch his tape together one day and we'll prove. I just really think that the kid got talent, Tony. Like, watching that game against Dallas, it wasn't all against Diggs, man, but they really targeted him in that game and they were featuring him. And the Dallas's defense was not trash last year. It wasn't all that bad. They got put in some bad situations, and he proved it. He played well with Mike Glennon as his quarterback, bro. They gave him opportunities. He got some talent, man. I really think he does. I don't think he does anything against us, but he has some talent. I think that if we would have made a trade play for him, you know,
Right.
you know, that would have made some sense for me. To me, I thought that he had the type of talent that could fit in this offensive scheme, but it didn't happen. We'll see.
Now listen, I'm not making total comparisons to him, but
Mhm.
Marlon Brown used to make plays too. And how did he turn
Um,
out?
he's a Texan now, so it is what it
What?
is.
He's not
I
no
think
no
he's
no.
with. He's not in the league
Marlon
anymore.
Marlon Brown ain't been in the league in like 5 years. Like
Who is that played for us? That played for the Texans last year?
Chris Moore.
Chris Moore, that's right. I'm sorry, just another guy.
Right.
I was arguing with somebody last night about how Willie Snead was such a positive impact on our wide receiver room, and he was a true talent. So he's not in football anymore either. So, but at any rate,
You, you know Chris Moore had a good game last year too, right?
he did.
Yeah, so stop putting everything on one game.
But this guy's a rookie, you know, and his had and the offensive line stunk. You playing with the backup quarterback, and he has a game with 150 yards receiving on 13 targets. And they would end the game into the fourth quarter. So
How
I'm
many
just saying, like,
how many yards he get the rest of the year?
they didn't play him the rest of the year because he was hurt.
Hmm.
He was hurt. He ended up he played about 6 games last year with 400 yards receiving. He got hurt. He came hurt out of training camp. But the one
Hmm.
game where they targeted him, where he was the only healthy receiver out of one room because the Giants had some struggles, Tony showed
How
up,
did
and that's what I'm saying.
how he get hurt in training camp?
I think he was hurt coming out of college. He already had like an ankle or a
Mm.
hammy or something like that after the draft. So you just hate Florida running back wide receivers. Go to the next game, man.
Oh wait, okay. So next game we got the Cleveland Browns. Um, I gave him the win on this one. Now, depending upon if Deshaun plays, it may be a competitive game. If Deshaun doesn't play, it may be a wash. But I'm giving us the win in this one. It's status quo here. Even though last year we only had one win in the division, and that was against Cleveland. Um, we better not repeat that this year because if we only have one division win, we're not going to the playoffs. But we should take this one. But it's always that one tricky game against the Cleveland that they beat us, and we don't know why.
um, the Browns are going to bring it. Offensive line is really good, as we all know. They're going to run first. Quarterback play is definitely going to be the way that sways this for me. If Deshaun Watson is playing, I do think that gives them an added advantage depending on how many games he plays prior to this.
Mhm.
Like if he gets the 6 game suspension and he comes back week 7 and they play him, I think we're gonna take him. But ultimately, if he's playing and he hasn't been suspended, I think that the game would be a little bit more tougher. Amari Cooper, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, David Njoku, who they finally decided to cut a light on and actually invest in him and allow him to be the starting tight end there. For
My
the life of me, figure out. I beg to differ. I
he
think
was
the
a
kid.
he couldn't catch. And
Okay,
he disappeared in games. That's why it had nothing to do with Cleveland. It was him.
and so that Hooper and the other tight end that they had that they paid Hooper to boatload of money to do nothing, and then they drafted another tight end,
Bryant.
Harrison Bryant. Who does definitely have some talent. He had a couple of good games last year when he was able to play. But I mean, ultimately, this is a division game. I'm taking the Ravens in this one also. I think that we beat Cleveland. It's not going to be the prettiest game. It's at home. I think that we get them, and I think we send them back on to Cleveland. I think that the trepidation starts week 8 and 9, and I think that the schedule is the reason why. I just think there's a tough sled what they gave us after that, having to bang with these Browns and then having to go see the GOAT and then going to play in the dome in New Orleans. So, but you take it away, T.
Okay, so as far as Tampa Bay goes, you already know they're gonna lose that one. I'm sorry, they're gonna lose that one. In my personal opinion, I just think that they won't be up for that game, especially like you said after the division game. If we happen to win that one, they might be mentally fatigued, and Tom Brady, he's had some games against us, and just those wide receivers, in my opinion, might be the difference for them. I'm not sold on this run first, throw to the tight end offense. I'm just not sold on it. So I don't think that we're going to do as well as most people believe. So at this point in time, they're going to lose and they're going to be 4-4.
Hopefully by week 8 we start to see what our defense is really starting to look like. I know that that's late in the season, but I think we'll get a better grasp on what we bring from a defensive perspective. We're definitely going to test that secondary that we invested so much into over the past few years, including this one. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. They got the kid Johnson that they drafted a couple years ago. They got some players, man. They got tight ends. Up until he got hurt, Leonard Fournette was leading running backs in receptions last year, and just previously stated in other shows, Tom Brady by volume was the highest passing quarterback by volume last year by 150 something attempts. So I mean, they're going to air it out, and if they have success, then we're going to have to play offense with them. And I think that if we get in the shooter match with Tom Brady and the boys, and we don't edge it out. We don't keep it in between the numbers and stop the run because they can be run against, even though they're really good up front with Vita Vea and Devin White. But I think that our offensive line is going to be pretty decent enough where we're going to get the run game figured out. And they got some really good players on that side. Their secondary, honestly, is one of the weaker points on the team, so I think it's going to be some opportunity there. But I just think Tom's going to be too much for us, man. That offense is different than the last Patriots team we played up there at the bank when we beat them on Sunday night. So he's got weapons all around, man. I just think they may be too much for us. The spread will tell me differently. If that game would be a little bit closer, we get a spread 4 points swinging the Buccaneers' way, might be a different chance. But if it come out 7.5, 8, 9 points, we might be in trouble.
Might. We most definitely gonna be in trouble, bro. Listen, I'm not worried about a spread. I'm worried about team fit,
Right.
chemistry.
Right.
Any team can be beat, but certain play styles we just aren't good against. And offensively, Lamar can't do it all. And we also have to bank on the health of this team. We still don't know about Ronnie Stanley, Marcus Peters, Marlowe. It's a bunch of dudes we're not for certain of. We don't even know if Boyle's going to play. So are we expecting a bunch of rookies just to come in on offense and defense and take us to the promised land? I'm not sure about that. Now, I do think the next week, when we play in the Dome, you and I differ on this. I think that with, Winston, Florida State, that's my man and all, but I just think we go down there and we handle them easily.
I think that game was a lot closer than you give it credit to. I know Jameis Winston before he got hurt last year, Saints 5-2, and with the wide receiver room that they had, you talking about Callaway, the little guy number 11 Harris that they had, Michael Thomas not playing at all last year, throwing it to not Juwan James, but Juwan Johnson was the tight end, the most targeted player in the off the team from a red zone perspective in the first 7 weeks of the season. Saints are 5-2, man. But I think that the problem with me is not the offense. The Saints defense, man, they are a tough team to beat at the Dome, man. And their defense comes to play. They can pressure the quarterback. They're aggressive defense. They're definitely getting older by no stretch of the imagination, but they got some guys, man. And we're going to have to go up there and win that game, win, lose, or draw. If the Saints are 4-4, and they're just playing. You can't count them out. Quarterback play is everything, but I think that defensively, the Saints got some stuff on that side that could be trouble for us if we haven't figured it out in the weeks prior. And coming from playing Tom Brady, playing Monday night, we'll have a lot of time to get ready for him if we do come off a tough loss that Thursday. But I think that could be a loss for us, and I think that we got to make it right. We got to be ready for that game. I think it could flip either way.
So what record do you have them at this time?
So far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and
4,
3. That's 9.
Oh no,
Yeah, it's 9.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So you got them at 6-3. I got them at 5-4.
Okay, we're game off.
Yeah. So I also think that the next week going in, the Panthers game. Listen, my peoples, they do a lot of Panthers talk, and even they aren't high on their team. Like they have so many holes and deficiencies, and they keep pounding because that's all they gonna do is pound them drums. They ain't pounding the rock. Now, let's see. This is week 11.
Week 11.
We coming off a bye. They better hope that Christian McCaffrey is still available at that time. But if Sam Darnold is still starting, I don't want to say blowout because their defense is really good.
Defense.
They got my man from FSU, Brian Burns.
They do. So, Brian Burns, J.C. Horn. Who's
if
the
he's
safety?
Healthy, if he's healthy.
Who's the safety? Jeremy Chin. Chin, very, very good player. Almost a Raven. Definitely somebody on what's the name? But I think ultimately, if Donald's the quarterback play is going to be the issue with the Panthers. But from a skill player perspective, man, outside of the tight end position, I mean, DJ Moore should have been a Raven. Is definitely an elite wide receiver in football. You got Robbie Anderson. He has some talent too over the top to stretch the field. Christian McCaffrey, definitely a player that we cannot sleep on. They've always managed to be a decent run team. They even have a backup guy in Chuba Hubbard that they picked up last year that played some decent games. I believe it was out of Oklahoma State that he went to. They have some players at skills position plays, some players at the skill positions where, their guys can make some plays. I think ultimately it would be quarterback play for them, and they come here and we wash them out. I think we do right by Carolina.
All right. So next up, we go to Jacksonville, Duval County.
Duval.
Duval. Listen. I know a lot of people are sold on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not. I don't think he's it. Like, I think Justin Fields is better. Granted, he did his thing at Clemson, but I'm not sold on him. Jaguars are still in disarray. They're still reeling from that Urban Meyer situation. Now, I think they're going to be a better team because they put better pieces around, but I just don't think they have enough talent to withstand what we got going. I don't think that they have enough to stop the run. Where they lost Miles Jack. Now they did draft Walker number 1. I'm not sure if he should have went number 1 or how well he's going to do, but we're going to run all over them dudes. So this is one game that I think that our offense is actually going to shine.
Jacksonville surprised me last year from a defensive perspective. They're really, really well coached, regardless of the idiocy of Urban Meyer. They put the Colts out of the playoffs and they beat them handily last year.
But they
And
always do.
they always do. But one of the most explosive offenses went down there in Buffalo and only put up 9 points. And the other Josh Allen on the other side, the one of their first round picks, Shorty had a fumble recovery, an interception, and a sack all in that game. So they have some players from a defensive perspective. I think ultimately, offense makes some sense. They picked up Christian Kirk, gave him a boatload of money for what now seems to be absolutely nothing. They have Marvin Jones, somebody who's definitely put some numbers up in the league, had more than a few 1,000-yard seasons. I was a little surprised they let DJ Chark go. I thought that he definitely was a piece that I thought that they would keep long term.
10 million.
They picked up Evan Ingram from a tight end perspective, who hasn't really seen anything, have really done anything up until this point. James O'Shaughnessy was a tight end last year. Had some shot. He got hurt last year, but ultimately, like you said, Trevor Lawrence to me, when you talk about from a college perspective, man, he had best case scenario at Clemson, won a national championship, but then you take another guy that had just as much best case scenario in Joe Burrow, and he broke college football for 60 touchdown passes, man. So I think that you could use the teeter-totter between those two to see who the better prospect is. But Lawrence has the talent. He's young. That front office is going to be, depending on what they're going to do with Peterson. And I know in some spaces I've heard that Doug Peterson is a better coach than John Harbaugh. So week 12, we'll see.
Listen, he won a Super Bowl with Nick Folk.
Yeah, top 5 defense too.
But he won a Super Bowl with Nick. Listen, so football. How many top 5 defenses have we had in the 2000s?
A lot.
How many Super Bowls did we win?
2.
Well, not one wasn't because of defense, but yeah. So please don't use that as an excuse.
I mean, look at the playoff run, T. We held teams. I think the most points scored against us in that playoff run might have been. Let me see. Beat
you talking about 2012?
2012, we beat the Colts 21-14. Right.
So it was the most points we gave up was against Denver. We gave up 35 points.
Right. And 2 of that was off of kickoff return for touchdowns, too. Peyton Manning had the best game. We threw a pick at the end of the game in order to seal it for us. If I'm not mistaken, correct. They only scored 21 offensive points, and we put up 35 offensive points. So that defense was pretty stout. And then we went up to New England and held them to 13 at home, 28-13. So I don't know. I think that defense was pretty stout, man. I think that you're not giving them credit.
What happened second half of the Super Bowl?
The lights went out, man. You can't blame that on that. We lost our momentum, man. The lights went out.
So listen. So listen. And I've said this before. I'm saying it again. If it were not for Greg Roman, we would not have won that Super Bowl. They were running. They were running all over us. Got down to the 5-yard line and threw the ball 4 straight times.
You're right.
If he'd have ran the ball we'd have lost that game. So
So
yeah,
he was the
please,
best offensive coordinator before he got here because he won us a Super Bowl. Is that what you're saying?
facts, facts,
No doubt,
facts.
man.
All
No
right,
doubt.
so let's move on to the next week when we play the Broncos. And my biggest thing with this is, are the Broncos going to let Russ cook? Are they going to
Yes.
try to handicap him like they did in Seattle, or are they going to let him cook? Now, another question is Judy going to be available?
Ah,
You know what I'm
I don't think that
saying?
it matters, but that's a very big but I don't think that it matters ultimately.
So I think that it matters because there's a
Mhm.
difference between having Jerry Judy opposite Sutton and KJ Hamler. I think that there's
Mhm.
a big difference in that.
I think you're missing one guy who's a former Raven that has definitely showed to be great against man-to-man in zone coverage from Denver. And now that he has a quarterback, I think that he's the one to benefit the most in Mr. Tim Patrick. And KJ Hamler can pop the top off the defense also. So I think they have a three-headed monster outside of Jerry Judy. Now, what
So
Jerry Judy brings
no, no, no,
is
no, no,
again,
no, nope, nope,
oh,
nope, 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 nope. But can KJ Hamler and Tim Patrick stay healthy?
that's also true.
That is another question you have to ask yourself. Are they going to be available for this?
That's also true. Part three of that is that we've also seen that running back in Mr. Javante Williams, who is probably most likely going to be the starter and is a stud. This kid can play. Led the league, led college football in broken tackles. Looked like a Raven. We just didn't need a running back, but he was going
When
to
does that start?
be an issue.
When does that
Last
start?
year he definitely had a good game against us, dragging your man, Mr. Marlon Humphreys, 20 yards down the field in that one play, that one drive that they had until we got him out of there. But
Sir,
ultimately,
yeah.
I think Denver's struggle is going to come with the quarterback play, and I think that Russell Wilson is an upgrade. The only reason why I have us losing this game is because from a defensive perspective, they still carry a really, really great secondary and a really, really good young secondary, and they're able to get after the passer, something that we're still trying to build up to, depending on Mr. Chubb is healthy. And they just picked up Randy Gregory from Dallas
Yes.
Cowboys, and Denver's definitely always been able to put together a decent defensive package. I think it's going to be a tough game for us. We're going to have to come out and play. Actually, have us losing that game.
So I have us losing that game as well, but I find it hard to believe that you telling me last year Marlon Humphrey got dragged.
Oh, he got dragged.
I find it hard to believe he's an All-Pro corner.
Corners get dragged.
People said Marlon Humphrey is the truth and is the perfect cornerback. I don't believe it happened, sir.
I
Don't
wish I
believe it
had
happened.
the ability. I wish I had the ability to show the highlight as he running and being that the Ravens helmet was in between the
Oh no,
three
I
and the
saw the
three
play.
like
Oh no,
this,
I saw
and
the
he
play.
get drugged down. I mean, he got drugged. It was bad.
I,
Everybody saw it. He needed
I,
help.
yeah, I saw that play.
It was
So
bad.
next, we are coming up on a disturbing trend. Now, for the last 2 years, I'm not understanding this play the Steelers twice late in the season and bunching up a bunch of division games at the end. I'm not understanding this. Like they must have it out for us, and it's starting to feel a little intentional. But we go into Pittsburgh, who has swept us the last 2 years. Am I correct?
Yes, since we haven't beat them since Lamar's MVP season.
So it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Even with Tricky Mitch in there, I think that between him and Pickett, they come out with a win. We're going to lose this and be 7-6 up to this point.
Expound on that, T. Expound on that. I'm gonna let you rock. Because Pittsburgh, saying we lose to Pittsburgh at home, this is the first time in a while that we've had them at home first. So hopefully, that means something to us
No,
that
no,
we
no,
get
no,
them at our
no,
house
no, no. There we play at Pittsburgh first.
again. Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah, we play at
Golly, bro, we can't get the first game at all ever. Change things.
it honestly doesn't change things,
And
bro.
it doesn't change the thing, but I think we win the game. I think we win the game. I think that we get them. They have offensive line issues. They definitely have made some moves and from a wide receiver perspective in the draft and getting Pickett and another guy that we wanted to draft out of Memphis. His name, forget
Sky
his
Moore,
last name.
Sky Moore.
No, Scott Moore went to
I mean,
two.
Calvin Austin the third.
Austin, that's what it is. I was gonna say Calvin Harris. That's the DJ from Cali. That's not that's the they still have Najee Harris. He was a target funnel for them last year, caught the ball a million times out the backfield. They're gonna want to establish the run. But I think ultimately that their defense outside of they have some issues with corner. They have a great safety in Minka Fitzpatrick, and this would be one of those ugly games. But I think if we go down there and we got something for them and we beat them. I think we take Pittsburgh the first time. I actually got us sweeping them this year. I do. I got us sweeping Pittsburgh this year. I feel like that the quarterback play is ultimately what's going to be it, and I don't see Mitch Trubisky having this great game. And I think that Kenny Pickett is a little bit further away than most people are giving him credit for from a perspective. I think he could be a problem later down the line, but I don't think that either one of them gets them to a point where they become competitive this year. I think that Pittsburgh is going to be in the basement, and that's just not because they're Pittsburgh. I just don't think they're a good football team this year, and I think they're going to struggle some. So I think that we get them.
Now I once thought like you, but I'm a believer in Mike Tomlin. Like I'm a believer. Like for some reason, he takes backup quarterbacks, injuries, it doesn't matter, and he does not have losing seasons. Now, Mitch Trubisky, he may not be the best quarterback, but they can still run the ball. Like this is the AFC North. They're going to run the ball. Can we stop Najee Harris? I'm not sure. Will David Ajabo be back at that time? Don't know. Will Calais Campbell still be playing? Will Derek Wolf be in the lineup? Like, I don't know. And all this will factor in on how the game goes. And it's not always on a basis of talent. We know each other. These teams know each other in and out. And for some reason, we always let certain games just slip away and lose for no apparent reason.
All right, I can roll with that.
Oh, well, my man, Mr. J6.
Morgan Moses will not be starting right tackle by the end of the season.
So, but what about by week 14?
By week 14, he won't be the starting tackle.
Who's
I believe Falele's going to win that job, brother. I do. I think he's going to win that job this year. I think that he's a lot more athletic than people are giving him credit for. I did not see any losses from a run game perspective last year, and he's more fleet of foot at 6'8", 400 pounds. He's the perfect run tackle for us, and I think that we see him on the field. He's huge, and I think that he's going to be the starting right tackle. I think he's way more athletic than people give him credit for, and he's a true talent at the tackle position. He's not just a really, really big guy. You put on his tape, he can move his feet. They put small guys on him. They put bigger guys trying to bull rush, and he won. Of course, he struggled. He's a raw talent. But Minnesota was one of the better rushing teams, and they went off the edge, and we are a rush first team. I just don't see a scenario where he's not our starting right tackle by the end of the season. It's just a little bit too raw of a talent not to put out on the field, and I think that he makes it for sure.
So you just sat here and said he's a raw talent.
Mm-hmm. But I think that he has better talent than just being raw talent. I think that he's a more than a good. I think he's our starting right tackle next year. I do.
What round did he go?
Start beginning of the season for later. He went in the 4th round. But he's an offensive lineman too, and we do play them. So, if they're good, they play.
No. I mean, that's facts. But if he was that good, wouldn't he have went sooner? Now, I'm not saying he's not going to be good. I just don't see him starting this year. Next year, he may be starting. I don't see him starting this year, bro.
Like I see it for Lele. I see at least at minimum in the beginning of the season within the first 5 weeks of Falele package on offense. I do. I'm not even gonna lie. And I think I think it's a foregone conclusion that we see this kid playing on the field. Now, I do think that eventually, Morgan Moses was a big pickup, was a good pickup for us to think that he fit a need. I don't ultimately think that he's going to be the guy going forward, but one of his best attributes was that he was a great run blocking edge rusher. Passer on the right side, a pass protector on the right side. But again, going back to your words, T, the Jets let him go. And I just feel like that if we're going to invest in a guy like we've been shown to invest at the offensive line this year, I think that this kid has some really, really good talent. So we'll see.
All right. Boogie says we beat him in 2020. So we split that series and got swept.
We split that series. Got swept the next year. He's right.
All right. So next we move on to week 15 and we go
Mhm.
to Browns. We go to Cleveland. Yep, we're at Cleveland. Now, hopefully, well, not hopefully, but if Deshaun Watson actually does get suspended, he should possibly be back by this game. So uh, I'm a, I'm gonna still give Baltimore the win on this one. I think
I
that
agree. I'm giving him the dub on this one too.
the Browns for some reason to me are always going to be the Browns until they show otherwise. Um, they had that one year against Pittsburgh, but aside from that, they can't seem to get out of their own way. And luckily for us, even though they did finish above us in the division, we were in last place and we had a fourth place schedule. I see us beating them. So 8-6 for me for them.
I agree. I think we take Cleveland again. They're going to try to establish the run, depending on, like you said, if Deshaun Watson has been back and they might have some continuity on the passing offense. It's still a division game. If it's a night game, that crowd will be amped up at Cleveland like they always are. It may be snowing on Lake Erie, so it's definitely going to be a good vibe. But I think that when the time comes, we've shown that we can show up against the Browns with a full strength team with the and then another team that swept us last year. I think that we get them back too.
Bet, bet. All right. This next game, I don't even know we need to even talk about it because it's the Falcons being quarterbacked by Marcus Mariota. Now, I know some people that think Marcus Mariota is gold. He's better than Winston. He just had some bum chances. I don't believe in him. I think he was a good running quarterback. And once they took the run from him and he started getting injured, he just wasn't it. They don't have Calvin Ridley. They do have Kyle Pitts. I give them that. And they just traded for Edwards today, but they don't have enough to beat us on offense or defense.
Marcus Mariota to date is the second most known Oregon player in Oregon history. Before Mr. Herbert, who took the number one spot by a mile, he
A
was a Heisman Trophy
mile.
winner. But I'm gonna give you a little tidbit since we're not talking about a game that we just going for this the only one I'm just gonna put on the board and call a dub. Who do you think before Mariota was the most notable Oregon player in football
Before Mariota,
before Mariota? Now I'll give you a hint.
Michael
You
James.
see, no, you've seen him around basketball.
I have no idea, bro.
You have no idea. Mr. Ahmad Rashad, running back for the Minnesota Vikings, named previously Mr. Bobby Moore, was a first round draft pick to the Minnesota Vikings. He's probably the most famous guy before Mariota won the Heisman when he did, losing to your Florida State Seminoles. Actually, no, they beat the
Yeah.
Seminoles and they lose to Ohio State in the championship game to the Zeke and them, if I'm not mistaken. That sounds about right. Yeah, they lost to Zeke and them. So, but yeah, I think we put that one on the board and on to Pittsburgh. I think that game will matter, and I think that we beat them also. I think we sweep everybody but one team this year, and I'll get to that later.
Okay, so
But
I
what you?
have I have Pittsburgh losing that game.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
think at home with possibly a playoff berth on the line because we're not going to have as many wins as most people think. It's going to be a must-win game. Depending on what Pittsburgh has going on, they might sit some people. Who knows? But that's a dub for us. 10-6 going into the last week against our new hated rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals, in Cincinnati.
It's a loss for me because I don't think the game matters. I think we win the division the week before and we rest everybody. I'm taking the easy way out. Boom. We beat them the first time when it matters at home, and at the end of the season, it won't. And the NFL is jerked for having all these division games, and we don't even play, and they don't flex us, and they flex something else because we know we're going to sit because we're going to take care of business in the first 17 weeks.
So I had them losing to Cincinnati in week 5. Now, this game to me is going to be determined by if Cincinnati has a division wrapped up or not, and they rest their people, or vice versa. If we
Wow.
have it, or vice versa,
Vice versa. Okay. Okay.
if we have the wild card wrapped up and we just decide to sit people. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to carry it because the last time we sat some people. for the last week of the season, it didn't turn out too well. So I think we might mix things up. But depending upon who's playing, that's going to have me having the Baltimore Ravens at either 11-6 or 10-7.
So that puts me at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
What
10, 11, 12, and 5.
All right. Let me know in the comments what y'all think the record's going to be, because unlike this man right here, I mean, it's not too far. I'm one game back. Honestly, I believe 10-7. 10-7, depending upon how this looks, and it's more dependent upon what we do at the wide receiver position. If we go out and get somebody or trade for somebody, that changes a lot. But I'm not believing that James Prochet is going to be your number 3 wide receiver, and we going out there wrecking shop. That's just me.
And I'm believing the opposite. I'm believing that with the anonymity and offense that we have, I think that ultimately we will be able to run the football, which changes things from an offensive perspective, regardless of what the pass game looks like, has been the struggles outside of some performances that we've had last year in negative game script. I think that we'll be better suited with the run game coming back. And I think that that's going to carry us. The strength of our offense is now the offensive line. The running back room is loaded. We have J.K. coming back. I don't think that he's quite ready yet. Gus Edwards has been working out, riding some bikes, doing some different things. J.K.'s coming on a little slower. I think that's why we picked up Mike Davis. I think that's also why we picked up Beatty also in order to pick up, maybe we see him a little bit, but definitely going to see him in the preseason coming up. So we're going to see ultimately what we have, because we're not going to see any of these guys during the preseason. So, we're going to limp into a lot of this first game. And ultimately, I'm glad that it's the Jets that we play first. We'll get we might get a practice game or them kids may come pumped up, but we will see. We will see. Ultimately, we got quarterback. He's our guy. Lamar Jackson, most dynamic player to me in football today. The biggest wild card, one of the greatest talents we've ever seen in the NFL. And I'm not just saying that just from a talent perspective, but I think that we get one of his best years this year. And I'm not saying he's going to be MVP, but I think he'll definitely be in the conversation like he was last year on a Riddle team, and I think it'll be completely different for us this year. And we're definitely going to make the playoffs. And I'm thinking that we're going to win the division also and have it locked up before week 18.
You really believe that?
I do believe that.
With this coaching staff?
Yes, because I don't think the offensive coordinator is making it past week 5. Hoping for the best.
I don't believe you, sir, because I don't believe it. As long as we have John Harbaugh, we will continue to struggle. We will continue to be late to the line of scrimmage. We will continue to be undisciplined. Now, I hope and pray that I'm wrong, but we'll see. So, this is going to conclude this episode. If you could let them know what you got going on, sir, tell them what you about, where they can find you.
I will be on Twitter and most Ravens Twitter spaces. You can find me at BSS_Staxx on Twitter. All football talk all the time. Try to stay out of the back and forth arguments and stuff like that. But I found the Twitter spaces to be relatively decent here lately. Guys have been. I didn't jump in today because I'm pretty sure it was going crazy over the Landry news. But find me on Twitter at BSS_Staxx. We can wrap it out.
Bet. All right, y'all. So thank you for stopping by. Like I said, if you're new here, subscribe, like, hit that notification bell so you know when I bring out some new stuff. Staxx will always be here. Rogue thought, never give in to conformity. Always value your own opinion. And most importantly, be somebody important. Be yourself. Captain Chesapeake. Y'all don't know about that.